Try to find some videos of the missiles coming here. I will. We can do that. Let's look for Dubai missiles. So this is apparently over Dubai. It's like fireworks. Look, you get. Think of it on the positive side. It's like you have beautiful fireworks every day, at any time of the day, always. That's what I saw with my own eyes. Yeah, it's impressive. Ah. Here's another one. A lot of people are braving the new censorship laws. Commander Lurk. I'll add that to my list of things to do. The command Lurk. Wonder what they're targeting. Was it the airport? It's insane that it's like the most I've seen so far. I wonder if Israel and US hit something important in Iran to make them do this. It is pretty, though. And look at all of those interceptors going up. I'm not sure. I think they were targeting energy infrastructure. Oh, okay. We've seen this one. Oh, this one's new. Let's watch it again for the... Yeah, and do you remember the president saying we destroyed like 100% of their military capacity? I assume that's Tel Aviv. Oh, okay, it might be Tel Aviv. There's no siren. Oh, there's no sirens here. Yeah, that's probably Tel Aviv. Every day brings out newer versions of missiles to a point that the sirens don't even work anymore. This says Dubai. Maybe there's sirens in some parts of Dubai. It might. Dubai is a big place. It might be somewhere else. I don't know. We're terrified and none could save them. Or maybe it's not. It might be Israel. That sounded like Russian. That's not Arabian, right? Yeah, that's not Niet, you know, that's Russian. This is a... Balyet, that sounds, yeah, that's Russian. Well, I think we've got all the easily available footage. Okay.
So Joe Kent today put out a statement, and he is resigning from his position as a counterterrorism, I guess, like leadership role, right? I don't know what the specific role is.
This was another big news.
But I want to make sure that I have all these lined up first, okay? And, okay, this should be everything, right? Let me make sure and scroll all the way down. That way I don't miss anything. I have not. Okay, good. All right, so anyway, so he made this statement here. And this was the original post he made. And this post has gotten a tremendous amount of attention, right? Obviously, the guy's a patriot.
Yeah.
I disagree with his outlook, but he is a patriot. He is a
He still disagrees with the outlook, but slowly will come around. Trust me.
fucking veteran, and he should be respected as much. 50 million views, okay? A lot of fucking people have watched this. After much reflection, I have decided to resign from my position as Director of National Counterterrorism Center effective today. I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation. It is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. It has been my honor serving over President of the United States under Tulsi Gabbard, leading to the professionals at NTSC. And so here it is, National Counterterrorism Center. I've decided.
So the guy in charge of counterterrorism just resigned. Yep.
Resign from my position. I cannot in good conscience. Let's see here. I support the values of the foreign policies you campaigned on in 2016, 2020, 2024, which you enacted your first term. Until June 2025, you understood that wars in the Middle East were a trap that robbed Americans of the precious lives of our patriots and depleted wealth and prosperity in our nation. And in our first administration, you understood better than any modern president.
Wait for the reaction. A lot of people don't change their minds that fast, unfortunately, especially if their long-held views. They come up with, well, you'll see. They come up with reasons why this can't be true, or this, or there were other reasons for this.
Decisively apply military power without getting us drawn to never-ending wars. You demonstrated this by killing Qassam Soleimani and by defeating ISIS. Early in the administration, high-ranking Israeli officials and influential members of the American media deployed misinformation campaign that wholly undermined your America First platform and sowed pro-war sentiments to encourage a war with Iran. This echo chamber was used to deceive you into believing that Iran posed an imminent threat to the United States and you should strike now. There was a clear path to swift victory. This was a lie, and the same tactic the Israelis used.
Well, the path to swift victory, at least, that was definitely a lie.
To draw us into the disastrous Iraq war, that is crazy. To say that the Israelis, not only is it Iran, but it's also the Iraq war in the past too. Cost us the lives of thousands of our best men and women. We cannot make this mistake again. As a veteran who's deployed to combat 11 times and as a Gold Star husband who lost my beloved wife Shannon in a war this is insane. In a war manufactured by Israel. I cannot support sending the next generation off to fight and die in a war that serves no benefit to the American people, nor justify.
Thing is, one reason he might be doing this right now is that we're about to send boots on the ground. Because if it was just air campaign, he'd have less reason to do this. But the way he's talking right now sounds like they're about to start doing something with boots on the ground. And I have to think that, yes, that's going to happen. Because the way things are going right now, Trump is losing. Iran holds the strait closed. It'll cost him the midterm. Yeah, the entire U.S. government got exposed with this. But we'll watch their reaction in a second, though.
Justifies the cost of American lives. I pray you reflect on what we're doing in Iran and who we are doing it for. The time for bold action is now. Can you reverse course and chart a new path for our nation and allow us to slip further into decline and chaos? You hold the cards. So this is massive. It's huge. So this guy dropping out, a lot of people are calling this out. It's very, very controversial. Now, this is, in my opinion, the first time that an official has actually dropped out of anything very big and cited in just plain English that America is acting in the best interests of Israel, and also that America is going to war for Israel.
Yep.
That's it.
But watch Asmongold, just here in a second, start talking like he knows better than the national security counterterrorism czar guy that just
as
watch.
A traitor? I don't think he's a traitor. I disagree with his analysis. I
think some people are already calling him a traitor for not.
He's wrong, and I think that he was also.
Yeah, Asmongold thinks he's wrong, based on what? You don't have a great intelligence, Asmongold. You don't know what's happening behind the scenes.
More than okay with fighting. Like, let me see if I can find a few more of these comments here, right? Because there were other ones too. And where is it here? This is Biden criticized Israel. I stand firmly with Israel against Hamas.
It's going to take more than one guy resigning to change Asmongold's mind. And also, You have to understand the problem with Asmongold's outlook is one. The whole reason for going into the war, like Iran isn't the greatest sponsor of terrorism. That's actually the U.S. and Israel, but that's beside the point. They weren't an imminent threat and all that, but the biggest problem is he doesn't realize that the United States is going to lose the war, is losing the war. Doesn't know about everything that Iran's destroyed. He thinks that like 90% of, he believes Trump when Trump says 90% of their military capacity is destroyed. He's not watching videos that we just watched about how, nope, they still have a lot of missiles. And so he'd be a lot less excited about the war if he realized that the United States is guaranteed to lose it. Yeah, he's not biased. He's been propagandized. It happens. I can't really blame him. And like we all used to be like that at some point, like just believing what the media tells us. And he's broken out of that in some areas, like immigration, like the Minnesota fraud. But he doesn't believe in conspiracy theories. He doesn't. So he doesn't believe in deep state. And that's why if you don't believe in conspiracies, that means you trust the media. The two are directly linked. And yeah, so, and that level of trust in media is how they manipulate you. You can't believe that the mainstream media as a whole would completely lie to the American people about important subjects.
An Iranian. And so this is in 2021. So like, I don't see how you can put this out there, but then not want to get rid of Iran. Like, I don't see how these two values can.
That's getting rid of Iran. We can't, Asmongold. That's the problem. It's wishful thinking. You think we can get rid of Iran, but we just bomb the hell out of them. They close the Strait of Hormuz, and we're fucked. That's the situation. We're going to lose the war. It wasn't even an option to get rid of them because we can't. We don't have just the bombing campaign would never have managed. And we weren't willing to put boots on the ground because there's no popular support for that. So you can't wage war based on wishful thinking.
And coexist. I don't see how you can think that Iran, Hezbollah, and Hamas.
Yeah, you see, that's the other thing. Also, because of media propaganda by the United States, is he has a completely outlandish view of U.S. military. He thinks we're winning this war. He doesn't know anything about the problems, and he's probably any articles. He probably he dismissed Pizzagate for a long time. He probably dismissed anything about the United States being critically short of missiles as like nonsense. He's in for a rude awakening as reality unfolds.
Islamism is a threat to Western civilization, but at the same time, you don't want to do that. People say he leaks intelligence. That's what people said, is that he leaked intelligence.
See, they're accusing him of being a traitor and leaking intelligence.
There's more to the Joe Kent story meets the eye. According to friends, apparently Joe leaked intelligence under the nose of the Secretary of War. Now, this is, again, Buzz Patterson, some random guy. Who the fuck knows whether he knows?
Yeah, but you're still giving credence to this by actually reading it, Asmongold. Of course, I have another story about this. We'll get back to this video, but I think we need to watch this non-Asmongold video about the same situation, just for a little bit of context. There we go.
Huge breaking news that we're going to have to add here at the end of the show. We can go ahead and put this up here on the screen. Joe Kent, who is currently serving as the director of the National Counterterrorism Center, has resigned from his position effective immediately. Let me go ahead and read some of his letter, which is genuinely shocking. President Trump, after much reflection, I have decided to resign American...
We can skip reading the letter, but let's see their reaction to it.
Serve in your administration and to serve our great nation.
Yeah, it's just
absolutely stunning news. Let's just dissect it a couple of different ways. Number one, this is the National Director of Counterterrorism, highest security clearance in the entire United States government. Iran pose no threat to the United States. Number one. Number two, Israel is the person manipulating intelligence. Israel pro-war lobby. Those are the people who convinced you in order to go into war with Iran. This is one of the most shocking resignations of the entire Trump administration. I think it might be the first real big one of somebody who was aligned with the America First movement. And let's consider the consequences here. They're going to try and destroy this man. I guarantee you.
That is why I'm showing this. Yes, absolutely. You can see them doing it already.
They will try to indict him. They're going to say he breached his. They're going to say he breached his security clearance by sharing information. He was never a real patriot. He was somebody, he was MAGA or a snake, something like that. Anti-Semite. The full stop of the pro-war machine and the U.S. government are going to destroy this man. Just watch and wait. And especially if he starts going on the podcast circuit and talking, do not forget, that this is somebody who deployed to combat multiple times, special operations background, Gold Star husband, doesn't matter. They're going to do everything that they possibly can. But this should be walled.
Yep. So with that
What
context,
he's talking about, right? He's not stepping down due to his allegiance and integrity. He's being forced to leave. I don't think that's what happened, because if
just claims from these random guys smearing him all over the place already. And Asmongold giving them credence by actually reading those claims out loud.
it was, I think Trump would have said that. But yeah. My speculation is that he's the one leaking to Tucker, and that's how Tucker got pulled in.
Yeah, this is just pure speculation. Where do you get these leaking stuff to Tucker?
His hate for Israel is stronger than his love for freedom and oppression. Maybe he changed his mind once he got in a position of power. I don't know. Like, the reality is that we can't
So much
know.
coping.
Like, you have no idea. And so I'll read some of the other ones too, right? Perez voted to leave our troops in Iraq and Syria and voted against funding the VA so wounded vets can't receive the care they wanted. Perez voted against assisting Israel. So this is, again, so now he's criticizing somebody for not voting for helping Israel. And this is before, this is right after October 7th, right? So
Of course, right after October 7th, he's going to be supportive of Israel. That doesn't mean that he has to support war against Iran 3 years later.
Sure, and took U.S. hostages. So we have another one here. The Gaza Strip is controlled by Hamas. This is 2021. So by Hamas, a terrorist organization that calls for the death of all Jews. Anyone that says Israel is a terrorist state is out of touch with reality.
I wouldn't say it's... Oof. I'd say that the current government of Israel has funded genocide of Christians in Syria, has funded Hamas, has started this war with Iran that's wrecking the world economy. Current government of Israel isn't great, is my opinion.
Hamas and Islamic Jihad would commit mass genocide against the Jews if given the chance. Now, again, I think you should respect this guy as a patriot. But how the fuck can you do both of these things?
Again, right after October 7th, of course he's going to be supportive of Israel.
How the fuck can you say that?
But this is just the first chink. What he really needs to, what's really going to do it for him is when the war continues to drag on and this week, even next week, there's still missiles raining down on all of the Gulf states and Israel. He's going to be like, what the fuck's going on? And that's going to be when he starts realizing, the United States is actually going to lose this war. And that's when his opinion's going to change. But yeah, it's going to take... He's got blinders on. He has his one worldview. And so it is going to take a significant amount to change that. It's he's going to resist, but he will be kicking and streaming onto our side of rationality.
Islamism, Hamas, Iran, and Hezbollah are threats that we should help Israel get rid of, but also not want to do it. I don't know.
Because, Asmongold, this isn't going to get rid of Iran. This is going to make Iran stronger. This war will make Iran stronger. It will, by closing the Strait of Hormuz, it's going to be in position to force us to lift the sanctions on it. It'll make Iran stronger. So, by your own logic, if you think we should fight these things, it wouldn't be a good idea not to make them stronger?
I don't understand how you can have both of these values. That's very confusing to me. And I have not read
He is a head of national security. He understands that the United States is going to lose this war. You don't. That's why he's so against it.
A single explanation.
Yeah, I saw this coming the instant it came. It just that's why I say this is Asmongold's war, because Asmongold represents the normie view of the U.S. military, of Iran. He's on those subjects, and Israel too. Maybe, and his friend was nukes, so that also impact. So and the normie view is completely propagandized by the deep state for generations. So Iran evil. He knows none of the history about Iran. He doesn't know we gassed like 300,000 of them through Saddam Hussein. He doesn't know that it was Israel, CIA that funded the genocide of Christians in Syria. He doesn't know any of all that. So that's why it's his word. He's been, not only on this, but he's been talking about for last year that international rules don't matter. We should just do it. We don't need, like, Europe is stupid. We could just take Greenland. You know, that's his attitude. He's been acting like the United States is the most powerful military in the world and can do everything. Marginally, it's still a very powerful military, but it's been depleted by the war in Ukraine. And now, after this Iran thing, I don't think anyone's going to see U.S. as the most powerful military in the world. They'll see a decaying military power, in that we have a lot of warships, but we can't manufacture the ammunitions to fire missiles from those warships. That's the situation we're basically in right now. Our ability to manufacture interceptors and ammunition is just, we don't have access to rare earths, and we've outsourced our manufacturing in the United States. We don't have the manufacturing base to maintain this huge military we have. That's the problem that this Iran war is revealing. And he doesn't know that. He doesn't know any of all that.
That can reconcile these values in a way that makes sense to me. He says not imminent threat. What? So you should only do something?
This is perhaps his most idiotic take of this video.
If they're an imminent threat, shouldn't you do something before that?
Okay, here's my question to you, Asmongold. The Soviet Union, they weren't an imminent threat to us in the United States, but they were definitely building all these weapons aimed at us. They were definitely a long-term threat to the United States. Should we just attack them? Should we have attacked them during the Cold War, Asmongold? That's my question to you. Your idea that just, his thing is right here, is he's assuming that you'll win. Like, if we attacked the Soviet Union, it would have been mutual annihilation. It would have not been good for the United States. That's the same thing with Iran. Yes, they might not be our friends. They might be adversaries to us. But attacking us will leave us in a much worse position than not attacking them. That's the problem. It's just you assume that we can attack them and win, which we can't.
Like, that's just, in my opinion, that's what I would do. Right? If I saw that some crazy shit was going on, then I would say, well, fuck, let's stop this before it gets worse.
And then what happens? Now we have a worse supreme leader that absolutely hates us. They've huge leverage over us because we've given them an excuse to close the Strait of Hormuz. We're much worse position now than we were before the war started. And you're not failing. You don't want to recognize that reality.
That's my opinion. That's what I think. I think that's obviously what you should do. So his new wife changed him. That's stupid logic. Exactly. So I don't understand how he can think that some pussies are afraid of.
It's his patriotism. Yes, partly his patriotism, but it's propaganda. It's just everyone in the United States told by the media and whatever, we're the greatest military power in the world. We've got all these aircraft carriers that we're invincible, and any evidence contradicting this, like shortage of interceptors, that's only in the alternative media. The mainstream media in the United States isn't touching upon that, and they're propagandized. Then they believe the propaganda, both about Iran being so weak on the verge of collapse, and the United States being invincible. And if you believe both of those, then, like Asmongold said, he was so happy the attack happened. Oh my God.
of war. I don't think he's afraid of, like, he's been deployed in combat 11 times. The guy's not afraid of war. So I don't think that's at all, that's true at all. And this is him. Iran has been after Trump since January of 2020, after he ordered the targeted killing of the terrorist Qasem Soleimani. This isn't a new threat. The Secret Service is constantly failing to secure Trump is new. So now he's basically bringing up, I don't know if this is whenever Trump, that assassination attempt happened, but like there's very clearly a problem here, right? And I don't know how you can square these two things. I don't understand at all. And here's more comments that he's made too. Trump's restraint shows he wants to deal with Iran and his red.
Okay, that's enough Asmongold for now.
Maybe a year.
I can only
or two.
tolerate so much of that.
Welcome back. We are joined today by Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson, former Chief of Staff to the U.S. Secretary of State. Thank you very much. As always, it's great to see you.
Well, to be fair, it's more he's going to have the excuse, and this is what he's going to do. He's going to do the same thing about like Pizzagate. Remember, he didn't believe in Pizzagate, then he saw the evidence, and now he believed in Pizzagate. It's going to be one of those type situations. It's not ideologically, like, I bet you he and I would be completely the same page if he believed the same facts that I do about the state of U.S. military, the actual risk Iran presented to us. And it's going to be him just learning the real facts, because they're not going to be able to hide it as the war goes on and Iran keeps sending all these missiles. At some point, it's going to cross his head, why aren't we winning this? And then someone's going to explain to him, we can't, we're going to lose. And then he'll be like, what? And then, yeah, it was pretty stupid to start a war that we're going to lose, right?
Pleasure to see you too, Glenn. And to see you're not in jail yet.
Me, where I'm...
Proton snail.
You tried to tell him about the radar loss today? Yeah, he still doesn't know about that, right? That we've lost all these radars and we're completely blind throughout the Gulf. He didn't realize that the AA gun being used is a bad thing. Oh, you tried. Eventually, more people will know. More people in chat will be trying to tell him, and eventually he'll get the truth. But you just watched a section about where he was reacting to the guy who resigned, and he's still way deep in the sauce. So sound by sound, do you mind me asking where you're from? Grew up in Switzerland and moved to the United States, and then I've mostly been on the East Coast since. I lived for 2 years in Russia, and I've lived for a few months in Europe in different places. So that's about it. It's je parle français, unfortunately. I was in the French-speaking part of Switzerland. So that's it.
Yeah. Good news. Trump, it's no...
Switzerland is so beautiful. I wish I could have grown up there. It is beautiful. And I went back there recently, and I was sad to see graffiti in so many places. So it's, there's having a little immigration problem there too. I grew up right outside of D.C. Well, I was actually born in this D.C. I don't remember much of there because, but I was actually born in Washington, D.C. The swamp, yes, I was born in the swamp.
Secret now. He wanted and expected a short war. However, he now seems to be locked in a position of all or nothing. That either he can escalate and try to knock out America's main rival in the Middle East, which is Iran, or he risks being expelled from the region, not him, but the United States military, if all these bases will be destroyed and Gulf state nations.
Yeah, there's a thing. Yes, Iran's going to demand that U.S. military withdraw from the Gulf, but you have to say, if they level every military installation in the Gulf, then it's the same difference. Even there'll be nowhere for U.S. troops to stay. It might force that without the United States ever agreeing to it.
Would begin to grow concerned about the military.
You were born in Alexandria, that small world. Yep.
Their presence being insecurity instead of a source for security. So where do you see Trump going from here on?
It's not looking good. Gonna need boots on the ground. Thing is, you'd need to conquer all of Iran. You probably need 500,000 or maybe even 1 million troops to do that. We live in the age of drone warfare. Look what happened to Russia in Ukraine, where they have air superiority. That doesn't guarantee anything. So, and we don't have 500. It would take us a year, and probably they'd have to a draft to get up to 500,000 troops. And I don't think any other country is going to be voluntary troops. So, just to secure your Strait of Hormuz, that you probably need 100 to 200,000 troops. And again, I think we could manage 100,000, but that would take 6 months. And in 6 months of it being closed, that already cost Trump the midterm. So, yeah, we're basically pretty fucked. You should show Proton Snails, the missiles in Dubai. Yes, we were doing that earlier. Okay. This is also for later. Dubai missiles. This is just like half an hour ago.
大国精神呐。哦，我说那是什么东西啊？飞上去？导弹。
They're not running out of missiles.
不打吗？不知道。会到
And more interceptors being fired up.
不会。哦呦，打国际城了。
Yep.
We hear talks about the Marines coming into the region and boots on the ground. Is this a realistic option?
No.
In your war planning, how would you assess this?
Ground troops are not realistic at all. But let me back up just a little bit. Haaretz had an interesting, the only newspaper I'll read, and sometimes I don't even like it, because Netanyahu owns all the rest of them virtually. But Haaretz had a really interesting subheadline yesterday. It said, to win, Iran needs only not to lose. To win, Bibi and Donald need a spectacular victory. That sums it up. They ain't going to get it. So what's the business here? Whether you use Marines on Karg Island or Kark Island, as many Persians say it, the Forbidden Isle, think about the old Ulysses and the Odyssey. And that's the kind of thing this is. It's such deep water.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll recover. It's just disrupts everyday life having this happen on a daily basis.
Down there, you can load 10 super tankers at one time, simultaneously, 10 super tankers. So it's essential to Iran, to its oil industry, and in many respects, it's essential to countries like India and others that get oil from there. That would be a disaster, but that's the only prospective landing place that I could see that would be strategically important, and you might just be able to get a few Marines there. Any other place, you destroy them. They die. I mean, there's no question in my mind about it. And we've war gamed this. Someone asked me for the war game title and everything. I'm looking for it right now because it was back there a ways, but Lieutenant General Van Riper, who was my boss at the time, did it, and he did the first iteration, and we lost so badly, they demanded, SecDef and others, he'd do it again. He did it again, and we lost again. And that was 20 years ago, before Iran had developed what it's developed right now. And what do I mean by that? Do you know that they took out 5 of the multi-million-dollar, 2 of them were $500 million apiece?
Yep, we know that. Aspen Gold doesn't know that.
Radars in other countries that have left us blind, and we can't replace them. And guess why we can't replace them? Because we can't get the rare earth metals from China in order to replace them, even if we could build them that fast. So this has been very, very fine-tuned by Iran, even more so than they were in that war game I was talking about, or the 2 iterations of it. Ground forces would be tantamount to saying we are losing, and we're losing in Afghanistan style and Iraq Second War style, or worse. In other words, $1 trillion of cost over a 10-year conflict that we would wind up having to have conscription and all that went along with full mobilization to put enough forces in Iran to make a difference and hold it afterwards.
It isn't political will for that. There just isn't a draft for a war most Americans opposed before it started. No, there's no way that gets off the ground. That's not the other trouble. Trump started this war from a position of absolute weakness in terms of popular support and without authorization from Congress, which means it is an impeachable offense that is going to be used against him by the Democrats. It's just
Not going to do it. You're not going to do it. The American people are not going to allow it. It's as simple as that. If Donald Trump wants to unwind his presidency significantly prematurely, if you will, do it.
yeah, but that's just the thing. The option facing Trump right now is to do this, unwind it. It'll unwind the presidency sooner, but not doing it just means Iran holds the Strait of Hormuz closed for 6 months while it continues exporting its own oil. And our allies can't export oil. It's he loses the midterms and he gets impeached. He does nothing. He's on a road to hell, basically, to losing. And if he does something, he'll lose even quicker. It's just
I don't say that lightly because all of those men and women will die.
Well, no, regarding those radars, it's gallium, I think, the rare earth
Gallium.
mineral they need.
Yeah.
And apparently China has about 98%
Yeah.
of, well, if not extracting, at least refining. So overall, the control is
China doesn't control the mining of the rare earths. What it has absolute control on is the refining. Countries from around the world ship materials to China and they process them into the rare earths. They refine them. That's what they have a monopoly on. So no, it's a technology basically, that technology monopoly, and it'll take us like 5 years, give or take a few years, to catch up in terms of refining technology. So we're dependent on them for the near term.
if the U.S. wants to go to war to China, it's going to have to ask China for permission first to.
And he just denied him a visit. Or he just canceled a visit. Picture this, will you? The number one strategic interest we have in a foreign state is China. The last interest we have in a foreign state, other than that BB sells us, is Iran. And we're canceling a meeting with the man in charge of the first so we can be the advocate for war with the second. This is nonsense. This shows how warped our thinking is.
I think the plan was for Trump to meet with Xi Jinping now in April and essentially have the Iran war, finished.
Yeah, he wanted to meet with the president of China, having knocked out Venezuela and having knocked out Iran, and then he would pump his chest, and basically as an ego trip.
It's already
Right.
and like a little trophy, on his mantle, standing there with
Exactly.
Venezuela before they met. But of course, this is very different. Now he's got himself bogged down in a long war.
Venezuela's not a peaceful thing right now either. So, Trump just wreaks havoc wherever he goes.
Well, there's
Yeah, but
also this
to-
talk now. Trump first said, we need we need allies to help us open up the Strait of Hormuz, and then he said, well, actually, we don't need anyone. We're the United States of America. We can do it ourselves. Interestingly, said it like 30 seconds in between, so he changed his mind quickly. But nonetheless, it is an interesting question, though, and you participating in.
He knows he can't afford political costs of opening the Strait of Hormuz, which would be tens of thousands dead Americans, sunken ships. Yeah.
For planning. How likely is it? What are the main challenges in opening up the Strait of Hormuz by military force? What would that entail? Would you have to invade Iranian territory, or is this simply escorts? Because escorts sounds less permanent.
Escort is the principal means we tried when I was doing war planning in Pacific Command and involved in it, very much so involved in it. And the situation is somewhat different today, but the principles basically are the same. And what we tried to do under what we called Operation Earnest Will, we weren't quite
Earnest
so
Will.
pedantic then. And then following with Operation Praying Mantis, that went back to the pedantry, was we tried to reflag Kuwaiti tankers so that, one, there would be some violation of international law when they went after them, and two, so that the Kuwaiti tankers could feel safe, the insurers could feel safe, the shippers could, otherwise could feel safe, the world could feel safe, so forth. It went afoul immediately because Bridgerton, I think, was the name of the MV, very large motor vehicle that hit a mine. Skipper was furious with us. He was in the channel, as I recall. The channel, really, North Channel and the South Channel, for these big ships is not very wide. It's only a couple miles wide, each of the channels. And the one channel, I think it's the North Channel, is very close to
Basically, they
shore,
can't reopen the
things
straits.
they need to live daily. They certain parameter. And wow, have you got a huge parameter in Iran? So you're looking at him having to shoot 10, 12, 20 nukes, even to make.
Oh
a
yeah,
difference.
this was one of the other things I wanted to look at. Is he talks about possibility of using nukes.
This is just a real briar patch that Trump has willingly thrown himself into, along with his buddy Bibi. And I haven't even talked about the prospect of, as I think is becoming quite apparent from the language I'm hearing and from others with whom
It's
I'm
very
discussing,
concerning.
fraught with the possibility of Israel using not one nuclear weapon, but several nuclear weapons. Because one would not, we've done the analysis. It depends on where you drop it, of course, but anywhere in Iran, virtually, it's not going to do much. Oh, yeah, it's going to vaporize and weld together some rock, and it's going to, make a big mushroom cloud, and radioactivity is going to be a problem if it's an air burst. If it's a ground burst, it'll be a problem too, but not quite as long or far-reaching. Think Chernobyl, if you will. But you could drop 10. And, I don't want to say it's like dropping a straight pin in the Pacific Ocean, but it's like dropping a straight pin in the Pacific Ocean. In a country that big, as big as
Iran is
Western
big.
Europe, we used to talk about this at the Fulda Gap, where we were going to concentrate 10, 20, 30, even 100 nuclear weapons on the group of Soviet forces, Germany. The Germans didn't like it because it did do a lot of damage to Germany. But in essence, the explosive value of that is contained in a certain parameter. And wow, have you got a huge parameter in Iran? So you're looking at him having to shoot 10, 12, 20 nukes.
20
even
nukes.
to make a difference. And he's got them. And he's got them on submarines. And he's got them elsewhere. He's got a lot of free-flying bombs. I'm told somewhere between 200 and 300. So I don't want to be the Grim Reaper here, but I'm telling you, this has got all kinds of potential ramifications that none in this administration now, nobody is thinking about.
Yeah.
Well, when I hear Israel making statements such as Iran will never stop before Israel is exterminated, this kind of language, it's the kind of language you would expect before that nuclear option was taken. So I'm a bit concerned about that rhetoric. But in terms of Israel reaching for its nuclear weapons, the Samson option, what would be the restraints on Israel? What would happen within the United States if Israel would start, engaging in nuclear war?
That's a good question.
First of all,
I've been thinking about this a lot.
73, the only really vivid example I have, and I have it from my own experience, as well as from that reporter who went in to talk, BBC reporter who went in to talk to Golda Meir. Actually, he didn't get an appointment with her. He always did. She liked him. He brought her 24 red roses and really wooed her. And she liked him, but she said she was too hard pressed to give him an on-site in her home interview.
I think if Israel used a nuke against Iran, that would end permanently U.S. military support for Israel. We'd cut them off. I'm sure because it'd be such outrage in the United States at Israel using just dropping. If he's right, several nukes on Iran. Yeah, it would be the end of U.S. Israel-U.S. alliance, and so
she would give him one.
It would be it would be a fabulous clash because already there'd be so many people on the right that would be appalled by that. People like Asmongold, but you'd have the people at the top that are the Israel lobby trying their hardest to keep us with Israel. But I think ultimately the will of the American people would override it and end support for Israel. And it's like, there'd be fireworks. In a lot of ways.
The phone, and when he asked her the question, will you use a nuclear weapon? And she said, without batting an eye, he said, I don't know how he knew that over the telephone, but Yes. Now, you can say she said that for public consumption because she knew the Soviets and we were listening. And she knew the Soviets and we were going to deal with Egypt if necessary, should it become critical, and she wouldn't have to drop the bomb. I think that's probably a fair assessment of why she said it, but it appeared in a London newspaper the next day, quoted as her saying that. Now, no one pays any attention to that today. No one probably even knows anything about it except esoteric professors like you and I. So would it happen today and not have the Russians and the U.S. and the tension between the two, and therefore the caution and prudence brought about by that tension, not having that to bear on it, would it go ahead and happen? Yes. I don't even think he would tell Trump. I think he would just do it. And he has a chain of command, and he has people close to him. And
Well, he might be dead, so it might be someone else doing that. But actually, if he's dead, if Netanyahu's dead, can they still launch nukes without having an official leader? I don't think the second command can make a decision like that without, that's an interesting point. So it'd be good if Netanyahu was actually dead. It lowered the risk of Israel using nukes, maybe?
in the military who would keep the secret until the mushroom clouds floated up. So it's not like 73. It's not like these two superpowers have an interest in no nuclear genie being let out of the bottle and bringing massive pressure from both Moscow and Washington on, at that time, Tel Aviv. It doesn't exist anymore. Bibi's on his own, and he knows it.
You said the war could last up to a year, and I agree with you. I think this Trump talking about the war soon coming to an end. To be honest, I just assumed he was trying to talk down the oil prices, but we kind of know that's not the case. So how long do you think the United States could go on like this? And also, how much more pain could be absorbed?
It could be OBS too, speaking honestly. I don't know.
Because I saw only last night the bases, the embassy of the United States in Baghdad was attacked quite fiercely, and then in the morning hours you saw an Iraqi, they call it Iraqi resistance, flying a drone over the embassy, and it just no one was able to take it down. They just flew around and essentially monitored the area, and it just looks like if the bases will be weakened to an extreme degree, the U.S.
Again, the other day a commentator said that U.S. was thinking about using bases all the way in Romania because the ones in the Middle East are getting so damaged.
Out of weapons. I mean, the global economy goes into tailspin. This is not like the usual forever wars, which are kind of contained and isolated from the world. This is
not isolating at all.
Great powers going to bring down the world economy. The U.S. bases of the region will undermine the regional alliance system. It just looks like this is if it goes on for a year, this is going to be one stable year, such as the invasion of Iraq. This is going to spill all over the place.
It is.
The only advantage, you pretty much said it all, the only advantage accruing to the empire, the United States, of an extended war beyond a year even, is that all the things Donald Trump has been lying about in terms of having would be at least in low rate initial production, if not in full production, because it's going to take that long. So he's lying through his teeth when he says, I've had all the people at Mar-a-Lago, RTX, Lockheed, Boeing, Grumman, and they all agree. Of course they agree, you grifting idiot. They know they're going to make money out there yin-yang. But if you think they're going to gear up to make all this sophisticated gear in a short period of time, try thinking for Tomahawks, for example, maybe a year or two. Try thinking for THAAD, maybe even longer than that. Try thinking for a lot of these systems, at least a year, maybe two, maybe three before you're online with full.
Frankly, the problem is these missiles, intercept missiles, are just too costly. What you need is a lower cost intercept missile that you can produce in large numbers. That's what you desperately need in the United States, because the cost ratio of the drones you're shooting down to these $1 million missiles, it just doesn't work.
Full rate production. So yeah, in that sense, it would help us. But by that time, Glenn, we're going to be dead. We're going to be, politically, Trump will be removed from office. I'll make that promise to the American people, to the Europeans.
That's what I said when he launched a war. This is heading to a Trump impeachment. There's no other. He ended his political career the instant he attacked Iran. He did. First of all, it's an impeachable offense to start a war that wrecks the global economy without Congress's approval. And it's going to cost Republicans the midterms, so the Democrats will be in position to impeach. Yep, he's right.
You're advertising too, and I'm talking to. Trump will be dead. Trump will be impeached. He'll be out on his ear, whatever, because this war is not supported by the American people. You want to get them fully aroused about it, start a draft, start conscription. You'd have to do that. You'd have to fully mobilize. If we try to put the selective service system we have right now, broken as it is, into effect, we just did a study on this. It cost you probably $100 million over the 6-month period to get it even up again and working. Even if you work double shifts or triple shifts, 8 hours every 24 in each shift like we did before in World War II, you would never be able to get the system working within 9 to 10 months and then have your first draftees come in. And that 9 to 10 months, half of those 18 to 24-year-olds are going to disappear. And I wouldn't blame them a bit. Canada, Mexico, you want a little increase in your population with some young people, you're going to get it. This is just nonsense, Glenn. There's no way this country could gear up in a period of time that would allow Trump to withstand impeachment successfully and then be poised to go to a war that ultimately, by that time, probably other countries would be involved in too. I'm thinking really hard about Turkey, Baghdad, for example, maybe even that pusillanimous little kingdom known as Jordan, maybe even Egypt, maybe others in the area once they see what Netanyahu is really intending to do and will do to Lebanon. This is fraught with potential for much bigger than us being in it. It could.
Yeah, they're forcibly evicting huge sections of Lebanon. That's what Israel is doing, and they've also already announced that people won't be allowed back. So it's basically they're annexing more land to Israel.
Be the entire world forward through it, and that's not a good prospect. Although it is a very, and I'm going to put on my historian hat here, a very predictable thing given this inexorable shift of power that's taking place in the world, that the empire is disputing and putting every element that it can up, however incoherently and inexpertly and stupidly, because we have such bad leadership right now, fuse into all the rest of this and cause a global conflict. Easy to see it happening. Look at Zelensky right now talking about going to help in the fight against Iran.
That's
And
ridiculous.
that's not an insignificant statement when you consider the productive capacity he's generated for drones and the talent with which he's making the drones and the talent he has around him for using those drones in this new kind of asymmetric warfare. Transmit that to whomever, but he's talking about transmitting it to the U.S. and its allies in the Gulf, such as they are. By the way, there was an individual who said, I think it was Churchill, he said everything, didn't he, at one time or another?
Yeah, I think Ukraine's expertise is a little bit exaggerated in terms of the long-range drones that they're talking about here. Short-range drones, yeah, sure, they have a lot of expertise there.
Only thing worse than having allies is not having them. Look at how fast Trump is shedding our allies. I mean, our meaningful allies. He's shedding them.
This is what a part I wanted to get to.
Already
right
shed.
here.
Prima facie, he shed those in the Gulf. They don't want anything to do with us, and as soon as we're beaten, they're going to get rid of us if Iran hadn't done it beforehand. Look at Europe. Look at what Europe is saying. Spain sort of started it in a very ethical and moral way, in my view.
But you see, one of the pillars of U.S. hegemony is military sales, the hardware sales. We sell really expensive military hardware at really inflated prices to everywhere in the world that is our vassal state, like NATO. That's the reason why most of Europe doesn't have any military, so to speak, is that all their money goes to buying these really over-expensive U.S. weapons. And all these Gulf countries, again, they're buying all these really expensive U.S. messages. It's partly what finances our trade deficit, partly what helps prop up the dollar. Without those weapon sales, the U.S. dollar its decline is going to accelerate. And that's already happened. I watched a video the other day. They've changed the way NATO allocates funds internally, so that the United States no longer has a veto. That means that much more, you're going to see NATO states funding their own defense without U.S. weapons, without purchases for U.S. weapons. So that's going to go down. That is one backdrop.
It's coming on for realpolitik reasons now and payback to Trump reasons too. We're not going to be with you. We're not with you. So what are you going to go to the Gulf with, Donald? You're going to go to the Gulf with the United States Navy and maybe that vassal state Israel, or not Israel, but Britain. I put them in the same category now, whose Navy is so formidable, I could beat it with my sandbox Navy. So this is really, really stupid.
Yeah.
I can't say it any better than that.
But there's no, the one stupid point was that initial decision going in. After that, I mean, there was no other, we've just been on the same course with Trump just flailing around, not knowing what to do. It just, a lot of the other things he's done, like he could salvage the situation, he could change track, he could, like there's a saying, taco Trump, like he always chickens out. But this one, the moment you go in, you kill the supreme leader, you're locked into this losing situation, and there's no way out, no exit strategy.
I don't know why we're doing it, except that Trump is trapped by Netanyahu and Miriam's money, and he is absolutely focused on getting the American people's attention off the Epstein files. That's the only thing I can figure.
No. Because this war has been in the planning since the 12-day war. It's been on this. It doesn't track with the Epstein files. I mean, this war has been. The commenters I follow have been warning about it since last year. It has been coming, regardless of what's going on with the Epstein files. Even before the Epstein files became a big deal.
Well, if you would, I guess, get back in, not necessarily with the war planning, but the diplomacy, what are the possibilities for the United States? Because
There are none.
this is my main concern. When like great powers who faces great risks see that the options are becoming more and more limited, one often sees desperation. And, one doesn't want to see this when you deal with nuclear powers like the United States and Israel. Of course, Israel is more of a loose cannon. But what are the options for the United States? What could it actually do at this point? Because, Trump can declare victory and go home, but the Iranians, they're talking about, a permanent political settlement. That means get the troops out of the region. They want the reparations, which could be achieved by taxing countries using the Strait of Hormuz, or even demanding that countries sell their oil in Chinese yuan if they want to pass through. I mean, there's a lot of things they can do to achieve their war objectives. So what is it that the U.S. can do now?
Nothing.
The impediment to all the things you just said, and that's not the only impediment, of course, the Iranians are the principal impediment too. Archie has been very explicit about that. How can we trust you ever again? Even saying, one of the Iranians, I don't remember if it was Larijani or who, he supposedly killed. Now, this is Bibi's favorite tactic, is go in and kill individuals, as if that's going to change anything. But they have said, if you replace your president, we'll talk. I don't blame them. Would you want to go talk to this guy again? Would Putin want to talk to this guy again, other than to get him to lift sanctions, which apparently happened a little bit at least the other day? I can just imagine that phone call. Vladimir, you've got to help me. You've got to help me manage global war prices.
Yeah, that's another thing that Trump has done, is he's so completely destroyed his own credibility by the way he's interacted with the Russians and the way he's interacted with the Iranians, that they don't want to talk to him anymore. And that is, again, self-inflicted. That completely self-inflicted on himself.
Yeah, right. Okay, what are you going to give me? Well, I'll relieve some sanctions on you. Okay, I'll help you. Now he's going to go out and probably not help him at all. But that's Trump. He's getting Trump's own strategic approach to negotiating back on him. He's put these people in the catbird seat with regard to negotiating. But to your point, I think the impediment in anything that might happen diplomatically, however frayed that term is with him, is Netanyahu.
The way he handled the files, Pizzagate thing, is just unfortunate. Yeah, like I told you before, I think they added something like accusations against him that he abused an underage girl and just stuck it in with the rest of the files. And he saw that and thought, oh my God, this is just a Russia hoax all over again. And that's why he called the Epstein files a hoax, because that's what I think happened. And I think they're still holding back the parts of the files that, yes, where there's accusations against him, that they're And those are going to be leaked as an October surprise to completely determine the elections this November. So I think that's the plan. But with the way Iran's going, it doesn't matter. They don't even need Epstein anymore. But it kind of helped, honestly, because it is waking up the left. Yes, it did help, especially the Pizzagate stuff. Yes, it did help. Like I said, the deep state always has a plan. It's just the plan is going awry more and more often these days, like it did in Ukraine, like it did with Iran. I honestly think that what's currently going on in Iran wasn't the deep state plan at all. They had that Carney guy, and they were aiming for a Venezuela type situation. That what they told Trump would happen, the 24-hour war, over in a weekend, that was the deep state plan. And everything that's going on now is the fuck up of the deep state.
Because Trump has got to give Israel a direct order to cease and desist to make anything work diplomatically. They will not. Netanyahu is going to his own and his state's death before he quits.
If he's still alive, if he's dead, who's leading Israel now?
A reality, I think. So Trump is trapped by that. He's trapped by the fact that that's Bibi's posture and he ain't going to change. How does Trump change if Bibi refuses to quit? And I'm not just talking about there. I'm talking about in Lebanon too. He's hell-bent for Lebanon. He's making 2 more states join the court case at the ICJ, ICC. 2 more states joined. And they cited one of the reasons they joined his treatment of Lebanon right now. Certainly the other reasons that South Africa made the proposition in the first place, or the application in the first place. But I would dare say you're probably going to have 50 states signed up to that case before Israel is over, especially if this war continues in the way it is right now, if Israel is even a state at that time. So that's the impediment. Bibi is the impediment to having meaningful negotiations. Not that the Iranians would trust Trump, but you could do something, especially using the good offices of Oman, which are always so good, but not with Bibi. Bibi will not negotiate.
Again, I keep going back to how this could have been done, because if you go through a lot of the literature, especially the one around 2012, 13, when there was a lot of, at least in academic literature, discussions about invading Iran, one sees that more or less always the conclusions was the same, that this will just pull us in, it will spread, it will be uncontrollable, it will be...
Yeah, the Strait of Hormuz was always a risk. In every article I read about this, everyone knew it would happen. Yet Trump still bombed the supreme leader because it was promised a quick war.
The ultimate long war. So a disaster. But how is it that, again, with all the problems, most of them should have been predicted, but I heard Trump make the statement that, none of the experts could have predicted that Iran would attack all these U.S. bases across the region. And
that's a fall-faced lie.
No, it should have been the most predictable thing. I mean, if they listen to you, and yeah.
I don't know that General Kane walked in. Not 5 Americans know this, Glenn. Maybe 5 know it. I only know it because I was there when the act was created and when Powell implemented it. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff now is the equal of the Secretary of Defense when it comes to advising the National Security Council, his own boss, the Secretary of Defense, and the President, importantly. Powell did this twice in implementing this new procedure. Twice, he had a dissenting chief on the Joint Chiefs. He went straight to the President, put that dissent to the President, and the President in both cases decided for the chairman. So he had to go back and tell the chief and the Secretary of Defense, who sided with the chief one time, you lost. That's the power of the chairman now. He can talk to the President on his own. Now, most smart ones, including Powell, would go up and tell the Secretary, I'm going to see the President because I don't agree with you, Mr. Secretary. Maybe they don't even have to do that, really, but that's just good behavior. You've got to live with the Secretary anyway. He's your boss otherwise. That's a new provision. Kane could go at any moment, and I'm told he did. I don't know how powerfully he did, but I'm told he did, and one of the people that got fired because of that was the 3-star Navy admiral, who, one of the most important members on the Joint Staff, the director of the Joint Staff. He's the J3, if you will. He's the operational guy on the Joint Staff. They fired him. Hegseth, he said he sent him back to the fleet because he dissented or something. I don't know what he dissented on. Hegseth didn't express it. So that And Kane, having said what he said, I think, at least pushed back a little bit. Trump ignored, completely ignored. So the man he pulled out of obscurity and retirement and moved from being a 3-star to a 4-star and put in the chairman's seat, locked into Trump, you would think, dissented to a certain extent. And Trump paid no attention to it, no attention to it whatsoever. That tells you that no dissent from the military, regardless of how it was couched, would probably be accepted by Trump. He's got plenty of people to tell him otherwise, including like Laura Loomer and people who really know military operations, including like his chief of staff, who just got, I'm going to sound like a hardcore idiot saying this, but she just got breast cancer at a most propitious moment to bring sympathy on the White House. I'd love to see that x-ray. I'd love to know. You can't, how could I ever say anything like that? Because these people are liars, because they're cheats, because they make Bibi Netanyahu look decent when it comes to propaganda and it comes to lies coming out of their mouths. They do anything to hold on to power, anything to grift more money. Did you see that report about how much money they potentially have gotten for their family so far? Over $200 billion, with Jared Kushner being the leading figure in it. He's become such a leading figure in it that
I've been hearing this a lot more, that there's a lot more corruption in this second Trump administration. I think it's the deep state actors he has himself surrounded with him.
Until Trump is actually chastising him for making it so visible what he's doing while supposedly a special envoy for President Trump. They're amassing a fortune for themselves, and we're just watching it. But you can't get to Trump.
Yeah, but it wasn't like this in the first term. Trump's entourage during the first term wasn't enriching themselves this way.
You can't get to him with the right kind of advice, I don't think. I fault the military for not being more in his face, more constantly, and more courageously. But, look at this guy that just resigned from the National Counterterrorism Center. I think he was the director of it, whatever. Look at that guy's rep. He was a son of a bitch. He was a pure MAGA guy. He was, let's throw them all to the wolves and get them out of the country and all this kind of stuff. And now all of a sudden he's written this nice little letter and he's resigned. Principally, he says in the letter, because of the Iran war. It's a stupid war. And in the penultimate paragraph,
I think I even think Candace might be right about Trump USA being compromised, but who knows? Yeah, they did try to kill him. They did try to put a bullet through his head. So they have a lot of control over his administration, but they would still prefer not to have him at all. So I just think that they're just controlling people around him at this point. And whoever he's taking his advice from, those longtime friends, it's all those people, they're controlling those people. And that's how they're doing things.
he talks about his wife dying. And it's a poignant letter. But we forget that, just as we did with Charlie Kirk, we forget what kind of rep that guy had before he was assassinated, before he saw the light about Israel when he was assassinated. He was venomous. He had a poisonous mouth talking about things. And that's so true of many of these MAGA spokespersons who've now turned over, because this is a stupid war, or because other things have happened, like this incredible affection we have for the state of Israel. And the latest development, too, is penetrating their minds finally that some of these people are in it, including the Secretary of Defense himself, for God, for Jesus. He's having a meeting today on St. Patrick's Day. He's having a meeting in the White House or in the Pentagon. It's not compulsory, but the Secretary of Defense invites you to this Christian prayer service. Yeah, you can't make this stuff up.
The guy who has that tattoo on his chest. Okay. Well, I think that's going to do it for the Iran segment for today. Like and subscribe. Come watch on Kiko Twitch. Stream every day at 8 p.m. And I'll see you in the next video. All right. Bye.